Hey there, folks. JT here, Serenity Farms prepping. So, been reading a lot of comments on a lot of videos, and I have reached the conclusion that the masses are still in denial that the collapse is inevitable. For tards, that means it's coming and it's going to happen no matter what. We are well past the point of stopping the collapse. Even if there was a group of white hats that stepped in tomorrow, they could not stop the coming collapse. It has to happen. The only way we survive as a civilization is for this collapse to happen so we can do our own reset. Things are never going to be normal like they were 3 short years ago. That type of normal is what got us in this situation. We're partly to blame for everything that's happening because for years, whenever the stupid tards would do something small and seemingly insignificant, we would shrug it off because it was just one little thing here. And then a year later, it was one little thing here. And then it was one little thing here. But they kept amassing this warped world that they want us all to live in. And it finally got so big and metastasized so badly that it became uncontrollable. Now the collapse is going to happen. The white hats, if there were any, couldn't stop it. They might be able to lessen a couple parts of it, but they can't stop it. They cannot stop or lessen the food starvation that's coming. Maybe they could ease the fuel crisis a little bit before winter so that everyone's allowed or can heat their homes and don't freeze to death. Maybe they can avoid an American city being nuked or a Chi-Com invasion with some people in DC who have a brain. Maybe. But they can't stop the food shortages because if there's no food, there's no food. And there's not going to be any food for 2 or 3 years. A bunch of experts have said if we survive the collapse, it's going to take 5 years to get where we're at today, which none of us like. That's just to get back to where we are today. That's providing nothing else happens in the next 5 years. You people that are still basing your life on the belief that there's a plan and a group of people out there waiting to swoop in and save the country, you need to let that go right now. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but it doesn't matter now. They're not going to save you. You have to save yourself. If they step in, if there is someone, and things get a little better, it's still going to be the worst 2 or 3 years of many of our lives. And millions likely won't survive it. We still have the poison to deal with. That's going to wipe out millions potentially across the world, could be billions. That automatically affects every other aspect of fuel, the food, the workforce. There just isn't any people. In some warped way, the deep state and the Democrats who have been doing all this are trying to see who are going to be the people who survive all this. Those are the only people that they would want around. As we know, they want that number to be somewhere around 500 million. Well, that's not going to happen in a year or two. But over 2 or 3 years, if nothing happens, we are going to get very close to that number. I can't say myself or anyone I'm talking to that we'll be able to have this conversation again in 3 years or 2 years. But you need to take care of yourself. You are the only person who can do this. Stop counting on everyone else. After the collapse, which, as you know, could be any day after the collapse, eventually we have to count on somebody else somewhere at some time. That's a choice you'll make at that time. But until then, you need to accept that this is going to be total carnage, chaos, anarchy. We can't completely fathom in our minds just how terrible this is going to be. But pretty soon, we probably won't have to. I hope and pray this time next year, we're all still having this conversation. I know I'm going to do everything I can to still be around to do it. I hope you are too. Like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell. But for now, JT, signing off.